Kentucky Bloomer, MR Crew, thoughts on the conflation in America of mental health equals mental illness? Seems too often mental health is talked about as something that can be treated with medical intervention, while in my opinion, mental health is a direct result of the daily experience and stress is caused by the systems in which we operate. That's a good, I agree, Kentucky Bloomer. Maybe that's a good way for us to get into this thing.
Yeah, I mean, both of them are not covered by American healthcare.
Is this in the sound sheet or is this?
This is this is not.
Okay.
But this is Jason Sudeikis and the cast of Ted Lasso at the White House press briefing 2 days ago, or maybe it was actually yesterday. Yeah. And for some reason, like Sudeikis mentions, like he didn't know this was going to happen. He doesn't seem prepared for this. And
why would he be? He's an actor at the White House talking about mental health
and like promoting like a new series of Ted Lasso, right? Like I assume there's a new season, or why the hell
the third season's just
out?
Started, yeah.
Which is why is the White House serving that?
Well,
function?
because they were doing the Tonight Show, and just on that publicity trip, you might as well stop at the White House press briefing room too. So yeah, like I mean, look, I think I think the press briefings are pretty much shams and controlled illusions of sort of press openness, but I don't know that we should necessarily like make the whole thing of having fictional characters come and address them and then actually feel the question.
Yeah, maybe that's a little too far, but
yeah, the whole thing should be disbanded because like nothing really gets done here anyway. Karine Jean-Pierre is a liar, regardless of who's in the White House. The person who is the White House press spokesperson, they're the liar in chief. That's the way you should understand these things.
And they're paid to advocate and defend and basically launder every single thing the administration represents.
It's PR. Exactly. It's internal PR for the president.
Exactly.
For this White House.
When
and
you're
so,
a press secretary, you're a PR official as opposed to a comms official.
Which is why it's just a little disturbing that these people like Jen Psaki then get cushy media jobs after, because going from PR to being the watchdog shouldn't be the easiest transition, and yet it is.
And it's a turnstile too. Like it did happen with Stephanopoulos, and did Spicer's on Newsmax, like Kayleigh McEnany's on Fox. Like every single one of them does it.
Yeah, they get paid in media later. But this happened at this bizarre event with the cast of Ted Lasso. Here we go.
Many folks here in U.S. are focused on March Madness or the World Baseball.
Let's skip a little bit ahead because we don't need to see Karine Jean-Pierre. Yeah.
Talk about March
Madness. His unity agenda. And I know that Jason wants to share a few words. And so, Coach Lasso, the podium is yours.
I appreciate it.
Here you go.
Thank you. I truly did not know it was going to be this one when on the way here. Not until we were out here. So thank you for taking an interest. And I know you're here for bigger reasons than us. But I just want to say that on behalf of myself, everyone here with me today, and the numerous other folks that it takes to make our show Ted Lasso, it is sincerely an honor to visit the White House and to have the opportunity to speak to the President and to the First Lady about the importance of mental health. So like no matter who you are, no matter where you live, no matter who you voted for, we all probably, I assume, we all know someone who has, or have been that someone ourselves actually, that's struggled, that's felt isolated, that's felt anxious, that has felt alone, right? And it's actually one of the many things that believe it or not, that we all have in common as human beings, right?
Can you pause it? I'm sorry. What we have in common is that we live under capitalism, and we also live in a country that has a for-profit healthcare system, so that you have to worry constantly about if my chronic condition is going to be covered by this, or is it going to cost $20,000, that kind of thing.
Or like if someone, say either yourself or a family member or somebody you know does have like a mental health episode or a psychotic break or something of that nature. Like I haven't listened to this entire clip, but like I can't imagine he's going to say, yeah, we need to make sure that that's insured for everybody, that no one will have to shoulder a backbreaking, overwhelming cost.
So, yeah, I mean, people are confused why we're playing this and says it's mostly harmless. This is not harmless, what's happening right here, and let me be explicit. The problem for this is not shame in people not having like the wherewithal to talk about this stuff. The problem is that people are price discriminated away out of care. Like, let's let him go a little bit further, and then we'll play a clip from Health Professionals for Medicare for All.
that means that it's something that we can all, and should talk about with one another when we're feeling that way, or when we recognize that in someone feeling that way. So please, we encourage everyone, and this is a big theme of the show, is like to check in with your neighbor, your coworker, your friends, your family, and ask how they're doing, and listen sincerely. You all ask questions for a living, but you also listen for a living. So, who am I preaching to? The choir, that is. Okay. And look, and while it's easier said than done, we also have to know that we shouldn't be afraid to ask for help ourselves.
So this is not this is rich person problems.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anybody, the idea that the big barrier is just personal shame that's a rich person's idea of the problem here. And the idea that the solution, this could have all been fine if he instead used a moment to call for Medicare for all, including this. We got this clip this was from the Bernie campaign, but these mental health professionals talking about what the actual barriers to mental health care are.
My work. But the biggest frustration in my work has nothing to do with the actual work. It's the American healthcare system itself.
One of my biggest frustrations with commercial health insurance is the restriction on access to mental health care that it places upon our patients.
If you think insurance corporations complicate getting medical services, you will be horrified to try to get mental health support.
I've had patients miss appointments because they could not afford the copay. I've had patients not take medications because they lost insurance.
It takes a lot for someone to reach out for mental health care. They should be met with an immediate, yes, I can help you.
So if Ted Lasso wanted and his fictional ass wanted to go into the White House press briefing room and say this, then I'm
all
interested.
for it.
Exactly. But Karine Jean-Pierre and the White House would not have invited him to do that, or indeed suggested to him that he does that, if it was going to be anything more than just the shame thing. And look, I get that people think that the shame thing. I'm sorry,
No, but this is a version of that. It's also about your individual role in seeking out mental health care being through connections or someone else connecting with you. That's actually undermining social solidarity, because what you should be advocating for is broad systems to help people. Sometimes people don't have anyone in their life for them to reach out and say, hey, are you struggling? And so that's...
The state should provide someone for them.
That's why it's harmful. And I think speaks to the way the Biden administration views the role of the government in ensuring health care for people.
Yeah, and I just think it's a degradation or a devaluation of the actual concern here, which is mental health, to get up there and just talk about it and listen. It's like if you see something, say something.
Yes.
No, we need actual policies here that materially support people in seeking this. And I think we need to really graduate beyond this sort of moralistic, don't be too proud. That's what you say to a rich person who isn't getting help and they need to. But that is not the main
pride
barrier.
Is not usually the most important barrier for 99.9% of people in this country needing to seek mental health care. It's cost.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's like an old conversation. We talked about this with Sam yesterday. Maybe that was true in Gen X or whatever. That was the huge barrier. But I honestly think the reason now we're overly comfortable talking about that component of it and not the price discrimination. That is the real issue here.
Right. Yeah, I just I find it to be a little bit cartoonish, and in addition, when you and infantile, and when you make mental health care about just individuals stepping up, whether it be individuals in other people's lives or the individual who's struggling themselves, you undercut the movement towards a Medicare for all single payer type system, but also you feed into a right-wing framing on this, which is what we're seeing in the wake of school shootings. Mental health, we just have to be more aware of it.
And it's really almost like blaming the people around somebody having a mental health crisis. Oh, you should be there for them and listen to them. That's good too, but there are times where that's not enough.
Yeah, and that's what the right wants mental health care to be, is about individuals checking in on the other as opposed to a system, as we keep repeating over and over again, something like a Medicare for all system. And so then when this is the focus about mental health care, it becomes easy to blame individuals as opposed to, a societal structure.
Yeah, and to be honest, like, even if we can deal with the shame part once you deal, like, people can be on the low about their mental health care. They don't need to tell their family about it, but as long as it's provided, and then you can worry about that sort of stigma later.
Yeah.
Like after you've been, and you'd probably be more prepared to deal with it after you found somebody that can help you work through mental health issues.
Yeah, and I mean, I also don't think I don't necessarily think the substance is like. I don't think any of us are saying the substance is like that Jason Sudeikis is saying up there is like odious. It's not that. It's just, it's not, I don't think this isn't going to move the needle no matter what, a appearance at the White House press briefing, but basically just saying like, it's okay to talk to somebody when you have the pulpit of like being at the White House press in the White House with the press secretary. I think it just becomes clear that there's no like, Jason Sudeikis is not going to provide a material solution.
No.
And it's just, like, at the end of the day, what can you look at this for beyond it just being lip service?
This is not dissimilar from a kind of liberal mentality about the climate crisis boiling down to your individual consumption choices. Like, that undercuts larger action on climate change. And this kind of thinking, I think, undercuts larger action on healthcare.
Yeah, I mean, it sounded like a BetterHelp ad.
Yeah,
like you might as well just have like it literally sounded like the one, like, I mean, we don't do BetterHelp anymore for ethical reasons. But you still hear it like, like that exact same pitch. Like, I just need help working through something, and then it's a coupon code.
Yep.